13th June 2024. With its parents for company, this little black-necked crane cub in Tibet was learning to forage food on the first day of its life. The adorable little bird will go on to live for around 30 years, a black-necked crane's average lifespan. 30 years is a long time, and a lot could go wrong or right, especially in geopolitics. A few days after this adorable little birdie was born, a small town in northern India hosted a bunch of leaders from the US.
In the presence of such a great spiritual leader.
I will tell you why these Americans meeting the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala is a big deal, not only for India, the host, and the US, the guest, but it's also a big deal for the birthplace of our little avian protagonist. I'm Manish Adhikary, and you are watching First Things Fast.
The new president of China will be gone and nobody will give you credit for anything.
Very strong words, those. That was Nancy Pelosi, the former US House Speaker, speaking in Dharamsala on 19th June. The footage of that speech isn't the best, but what she essentially said was that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, with his message of knowledge, tradition, compassion, purity of soul and love, will live a long time, and his legacy will live forever. But you, this is Pelosi saying it, you, the President of China, you'll be gone and nobody will give you credit for anything. Pelosi was part of a delegation from the US Congress that met with the Dalai Lama at his residence in the hillside town of Dharamsala in Himachal Pradesh, which is also home to the Tibetan government in exile. Pelosi may be 84 years old, but if you followed US-China relations in recent years, she's been pretty much at the forefront of punching Chinese ego on the nose.
हम आपको नैन्सी का जो सुरक्षा घेरा है वो दिखा रहे हैं, क्योंकि नैन्सी पेलोसी की सुरक्षा के लिए ताइवान मिलिट्री पुलिस लगी है, अमेरिकी मिलिट्री सैटेलाइट्स लगे हुए हैं.
In 2022, she visited Taiwan as part of what the Americans described as a solidarity trip. Hours after she left Taiwan, the Chinese responded by activating more than 100 planes, including fighter jets and bombers, and over 10 warships, besides firing live missiles in the Taiwan Strait.
The Chinese Navy and Air Force will be conducting a group of military drills, live firing drills, mind you, involving ship, stealth combat aircraft, destroyers, frigates, in an area that completely encircles Taiwan.
Meanwhile, in 2024, the American delegation's visit to India highlighted the growing ties between Washington and New Delhi, driven by a shared concern over China. The American NSA Jake Sullivan was also in New Delhi this week.
The NSA will be meeting the Prime Minister. That also is on the agenda.
Sullivan was meeting Indian officials to expand defense and technology cooperation between the two countries. These talks are happening just weeks after Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his third term in office.
Jake Sullivan, accompanied by the Deputy Secretary of State as well, reviewing the overall progress of the ambitious ICET initiative. In the US, a week before this delegation arrived in Dharamsala, the US Congress had passed a bill urging Beijing to re-engage with the Dalai Lama.
H.R. 533 calls Beijing out on its campaign of repression and its neglect of the aspiration of the Tibetan people.
The Promoting a Resolution to the Tibet-China Dispute Act bill is now better known as the Resolved Tibet Act. It condemns what it calls oppression and coercion of Tibetans and affirms their right to self-determination. President Joe Biden is expected to sign it into a law very soon. While in Dharamshala, the American lawmakers presented the Dalai Lama with a framed copy of the same legislation. Here's a small clip of what His Holiness said on the occasion.
We all have same right, and this world belongs to humanity.
The Chinese embassy in New Delhi reacted sharply to the delegation's visit and urged the US side to adhere to its commitments of recognizing Xinjiang as part of China. The Chinese like to refer to Tibet as Xinjiang. The following tweet shows you what they refer to the Dalai Lama as. Penpa Chiring, the head of the Tibetan government in exile, when asked about China's unhappiness with the visit, he said, who can make China happy? They have to look at the reality of the situation and understand it from a better perspective. For context, the Dalai Lama, who happens to be a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, made Dharamsala his headquarters since fleeing from Tibet after a failed uprising against Chinese rule in 1959. Beijing does not recognize the exiled administration and has not held any dialogue with the representatives of the Dalai Lama since 2010.
People of the world should be peaceful, happy. That's our goal.
And before I go, let me close the circle on a little birdie friend from Tibet. Yes, the black-necked crane cub I showed you at the start. So the black-necked crane is a first-class state-protected species in China and the only crane in the world that grows and breeds on the Tibetan plateau. But in case it feels any sort of danger, you know what it can do, right? It can very well cross the border and come to India. Okay, that was just an aside. I really hope it doesn't have to do any such thing. But in case it does, rest assured the black-necked crane is listed in Schedule 1 of India's Wildlife Protection Act 1972, according them the highest degree of protection even here. The interesting thing is, the Changthang Sanctuary in Ladakh happens to be an important habitat in India for the black-necked crane. But 11 of these birds arrive every winter in which Indian state? You guessed it, it's Arunachal Pradesh. Go figure.
Thank you all for your very warm welcome.
If you found this video informative, please like, comment and subscribe for more updates. Thank you for watching First Things Fast.